Hey everybody, I'm here with Paul Porter for another Tech Talk.
And I don't have my hat on again.
With Paul and Al.
I swear I wouldn't do this again without a hat on.
And we're going to talk about...
I look like one of the munchkins from The Wizard of Oz.
Oh well, they're not interested. They want to know about your tape deck.
Oh well, okay.
And so the tape deck is a, what is it, a Tascam?
A TX1000R.
Okay.
Fancy schmancy, so what is it, 7-head auto reverse, 2-track stereo, takes 10-inch reels, has everything you could ever want on an open reel tape deck.
Well, let's go and work on it.
I've got a TX1000R, really nice fancy schmancy open reel. Auto reverse, takes 10-inch reels, about 30 years old. It's a hell of a deck. These usually come in needing a capstan belt because the belts rot and fall off. And this one was bad. And it also had the mechanism, let me grab the head assembly to this thing, that lifts the pinch roller into place. This is not the easiest deck to work on. Oh.
At the end of the day, that was like your best way to record audio.
This was an expensive machine. 4 major heads plus erase. So it's like 7 heads.
Okay, how many channels would record on this? Two?
Two forward and 2 reverse.
Okay.
And this one had the mech that lifts the pinch rollers up. These joints were stuck. So you got to pull this out, tear it down, get the lacquer thinner and the heat gun and melt the waxy grease and clean it and lube it and put it back together. Replace the capstan belt, which belt will not only rot and fall off, it also becomes sticky. It melts. This has all been done.
So you took off the sticky belt,
you take it all apart, scrape the dead belt off, clean it with lacquer thinner and Q-tips. You get black all over your hands, which stays on for 3 days. I was putting it back together ever so carefully, and these switches hang in a bracket right here, and they're for a timer function, which nobody ever uses. And they were hanging right there. I'm putting this in, and I bumped these and broke both little plastic stubs off that these switches go on. I can glue that. I've glued one successfully, not a big deal. The other one, the piece fell into the deck, I swear to God, and I cannot find it. And I'm about to give up and just say to heck with it. But that's why this job's running behind schedule.
Well, it'll still work without that switch button.
Yeah, it's a stupid function that nobody ever uses, but the guy that owns the deck probably wants to sell it on eBay, and it has to have all of its features. I could buy this switch assembly from another guy on eBay who parts these things out, which I think is just wrong, but he does it, for about $30 plus shipping. I'd rather not put another $30 in this deck, but I'm having to go to a lot of trouble on this one. I'm good with glue. I can fix anything. Most decks, you take the back off, you take the front plate off, you can change the belt, you can clean this mechanism. Not this one. To get the front plate out, you've got to unplug all the cables. It's got the sensors. This mechanism actually bolts into this. So you're supposed to lift this whole dang thing out just to change the stinking belt. Now you can change the belt from the back by taking the motor off, but then it's a pain to get the motor back where the belt's supposed to go. So this one has turned out to be a real time waster. But when it's done, it's a $1,000 tape deck. But I'm still trying to figure out where that stinking piece of plastic went.
What color was your plastic? White?
A little white piece of plastic. The problem is, when these switches were new 30 plus years ago, that plastic was fairly resilient. But after 30 plus years, it's getting brittle, and you got a lot of leverage right there. And I just bumped them, didn't even feel them. I looked down and went, what the hell just happened? Broke those switches off. Oh, there's that black stuff. I'll be scraping black stuff off myself for the next month, because there's some of it right there where the belt melted, and I probably ran a thing through it. It's nasty stuff. Where's my salt?
There's a lot of that plastic just turns into liquid almost.
There's a synthetic rubber product that everybody has used. I think Ampex invented it because their decks used to do this really bad. And the stuff is very stable. It's very sticky. But not sticky. It has good traction. But you get it to 120 degrees and it just turns into goo. It's like liquid tar. And you have to use solvent to clean it up and scrape it up, and it gets on everything. It's awful. But
what are you using there?
lacquer thinner. Smells good, cleans up almost everything. And if you really want to get it clean, you get out the acetone. This you got to be careful with because this will melt some plastics. And it evaporates so quickly you almost can't get it applied before it's gone. But this really, if you're going to glue something, clean it with acetone. And then mix up your JB Weld and apply it, and it will stick forever. If you don't get the oil and dust off the surface, the glue is useless. Acetone gets rid of everything.
Well, didn't they used to use something called, it's no, you can't get it anymore.
Yeah, MEK, methyl ethyl ketone.
And also, what was it?
There was another one that's even worse.
I'm trying to think of what it was. It was like Freon almost. It was.
Well, the stuff you use to clean your dry cleaning solution. It's got a real simple name, but yeah. And it's a member of the Freon family, and boy does it clean. This stuff will take the hide off your finger, so will the lacquer thinner. MEK will just almost give you cancer on contact, but boy does it clean stuff up. You got to have the right solvent. You know, that goes in the waste basket because that'll get black stuff on stuff forever. So I'm hunting for that last little piece of plastic. I know it's in here somewhere because I have swept the floor.
It's carbon tetrachloride.
Carbon tetrachloride, yes. Used to clean typewriters with it. Remember typewriters? Nobody does. Back in the old days with typewriters, you had a cloth ribbon with carbon ink on it. And you had hammers hitting paper. And the hammers with the letters on it would fill up with fibers with the carbon on it, and you get your O's became dots. You'd had carbon tetrachloride in a little bottle with a brush inside. And you'd brush it on your keys and the stuff. The black would just get up and fly away, and everything was left so bright and shiny. Turned out it was carcinogen, but boy did it clean.
So carbon tet, I think, was a form of Freon too.
It was a member of the Freon family.
Yeah. But you can't buy carbon tet anymore.
Yeah, you have to know where to look for it. There's a lot of great Japanese chemicals we used to get at Sony. The world's best contact cleaner, can't get that anymore. And the Tri-Flow stuff we used to use to lock screws down. There's a can here somewhere, and I don't see it. I'm running out. I mean, I've had mine for 30 years, and a guy that I do business with found somebody on the internet who is bringing it into the country, probably illegally. It's the best Loctite Japan made. A 3-bond.
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 The Tri-Flow was an oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tri-Flow is a Teflon oil.
Yeah.
That I can get at the hardware store. But 3-bond is the best Loctite ever because you can heat it to soften it. It melts with alcohol, but it holds all your loose screws in place. And we used to pay like $3 or $4 a can for it. It's $40 now for a can of 3-bond. But hey, you can get it. You know,
well, that was one of those chemicals that if your like PC board got wet, you could soak it in it and clean all the whatever it was. It ruins this PC board when it gets wet.
Yeah, that was MEK.
Yeah.
Yeah, methyl ethyl ketone. I haven't seen it in years. I think it's still being made though.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think Home Depot still has it. But anyway, I'm trying to find out where that little piece of plastic went so I can finish this.
Have you tried turning it over and shaking it out?
I have turned it over, shook it, beat on it, cussed it, swept the workbench. I just swept the floor. The thing is, it had a little bit of glue on it when I dropped it. It may be stuck someplace.
Yeah,
and
of course
you'll never come up.
You'll find it when...
After the job is long gone, it'll show up. Yeah. So I'm hunting for that, but I was going to show putting this thing back together tonight, and I need to find that piece of plastic first, if at all possible. But like I said, this may be a 2-night job or a 3-night job. But these are neat decks. They're not like the old TX that had this huge metal plate where everything was really stable. This one's kind of flimsy, but very popular, very handsome, sounds good. Records and plays in both directions on 10-inch reels. This one has the double flywheel capstan, so that when the tape passes over the head, both pinch rollers are engaged. So anything you do to the reels, changing tension, that vibration isn't transferred to the tape because the tape is held between the two pinch rollers. So nothing gets to the heads in terms of disturbance. So it makes a very, very stable transport. As long as those two flywheels stay the exact same diameter, and these capstan shafts stay the exact same diameter, and the pinch rollers are good. You get a bad pinch roller, tape will start to get ahead of itself or behind itself, or start to skew, and these are very annoying. But when all the rubber's good, it's a damn good deck. And this one, the heads are decent. They're shiny, and there's very little wear on them. Fingernails are great because you can feel that little ledge right there where the tape has worn into that head ever so slightly. This one's not bad. Some of them look like the Grand Canyon. They've been run so long the heads are worn down several mils, and that's not good. But these heads are in pretty decent shape, so this one's worth fixing. I just got to find that little piece of plastic or just glue the thing together and not say anything to the owner.
Now, as I understand it, the reel-to-reel tape was invented by the Germans.
They invented magnetic recording back in the teens and the 20s. And they had good wire recording in the 20s and 30s. In fact, Hitler they recorded a speech of Hitler's on wire and broadcast it from one city when Hitler was actually in another city, and the Allies thought he couldn't be in two places at once. Well, he could. Wire recorders didn't use capstans, at least ours didn't. The Germans may have had a capstan, so their speed would vary slightly. But for speech, you'd never know it. And the quality's really not bad. And that wire recording will live another 1,000 years. Tape recording, CDs, whatever we made today will be lost. But they say that a spool of recording wire kept halfway dry and cool will still be playable 1,000 years from now.
Now, but I was remembering the story about the people at Ampex, and there was some sort of, when they were in the war, they came back with a machine.
They brought a wire recorder and a tape recorder back. The Germans were working on tape.
And so they brought back those prototypes from Germany. And then they used them to build the first Ampex.
Yeah, they just copied it because the Germans had worked everything out. Everything. Yeah, the magnetophone. And I've seen them on the internet. They're beautiful machines, and they're still running. So yeah, we didn't invent it. We just stole it. Spoils of war. The hard part was getting a plastic material to make the tape out of that was stable and wouldn't stretch, wouldn't shrink, wouldn't be affected by heat or moisture. That took a while. But
didn't they originally, way back when, have it on paper for a while?
They made paper tape after World War II. Magnetic coating on a paper, a high linen content paper tape, yes. And it worked. Fidelity wasn't very good, but it worked. Yeah.
But no one makes wire recording anymore.
They were only built for about 5 years. They did see some use as dictation machines, and those machines probably stayed in service through the 50s. But wire was great until the wire got snagged or broken, or you bumped the machine and the take-up reel got out of sync and the wire went flying in a great wad of tangles. Yeah, it could be very irritating. Sometime I'll bring a wire recorder out and show you. I've got a working one. It's just not here right now. But I showed people, they are amazed that you can have recording on wire. Same as tape, only it's on wire.
And of course, this was the beginning of the videotape machines, except, you know, the first one was what some famous singer invented a video. Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby put a lot of money into Ampex. He put money into CBS Columbia first. They tried it and they failed. They had a machine that had like 5-foot spools of recording tape going at 30 miles an hour linear speed.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it got up to speed, you had about 5 minutes of recording time because it took the rest of the time to slow the reels down.
Mm-hmm.
But Ampex came up with a way to record that high linear speed on a tape that was moving relatively slowly using a spinning video head.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history. Yeah, Crosby was basically lazy. He wanted to play golf instead of doing his radio show.
Twice a day.
Twice a day.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, he also did it later for the video show too.
Well, yes, and he put a lot of. He's the reason Ampex was able to get into business because Crosby, or get into video because Crosby put up a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
He got his payoff.
Of course, Ampex just died. It's real sad. They may still be around. I think they make some sort of bank recorder or something.
The name is still around, but no, it's like every other grand American company, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a name on somebody's logo. Really sad.
I think the very last video recorder was a DCT, which was an amazing thing. You're pinching it over there.
Yeah, that's plugged in where I can't unplug it.
Yeah.
I could have had an Ampex VPR 6 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd had time to go pick it up, it was free.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it, and I thought I'd have to load it, I'd have to unload it. Where the hell am I going to put it?
Well, VPR 6 is heavy, and it has a huge TBC, as I recall. Well, not huge.
It's 200 and some odd pounds, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a Ampex 1-inch reel-to-reel video recorder composite.
It was a workhorse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 1-inch was the last full bandwidth, no funny business, no conversion, full bandwidth color video to tape system. And it looked as good as live video. Digital looks great, but you know it's not real because of the artifacts and the processing delay and all kinds of other little things. But full bandwidth 1-inch video, quad machines look great in their later generations.
Yeah, when you had them all aligned.
When you had them all, when the moon was in the right phase and the tape was fresh and blah, 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 they looked great. But 1-inch was just almost foolproof. It was so simple, full bandwidth, it looked great. You know, what you do digital, you're fudging the colors and compressing data and throwing things out and compromising. And it still looks good, but full bandwidth, it's just breathtaking.
Well, I remember like the 2-inch machines were capable up to 10 megahertz, as I recall.
Yeah.
And they used them for data recorder, the government did.
They use that mechanism for everything.
At NASA.
Yeah, yeah. But God, they were enormous. It took as much power to run as it cost to air condition a large house. Took 3 or 4 engineers to keep one running. God, that was job security.
But you know what? You had to have 2 big air compressors on the roof.
They took a 5-horse air compressor, dehumidified air, by the way, and over 1,000 watts of power just to run the motors. And the vacuum tube took another 3,000 watts for the vacuum tubes. That was a hell of a machine. We were watching videos at work the other day, and I still get a little misty when I hear a 1-inch machine or a quad machine hear those heads hit that tape. There's a sound.
I remember back when we were on air with a 2-inch, sometimes the head would clog, and you'd get there with a little cleaning cloth, and you'd be cleaning it while it was playing because you were live on air.
That's right, and don't press too hard or it'll cut your finger.
Well, I know, and the thing is, you don't put your fingers in it when it's rewinding. Or
No. Is it 14,000 or 17,000 RPM on a quad head? It's 17.
Yeah.
17.7.
I'm thinking it's more 14, but I might be wrong.
14.7 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Air bearings running on compressed air. 4 heads doing 16 lines of video on each pass. Oh, boy, those were the days. Now we do it in a thing that you're holding in your hand right there. The world has changed.
Well, I don't think I want to go back again, actually. But,
no, but it was fun.
But back then, that was a huge deal, having a 2-inch machine. That was the top of technology.
It started off at $150,000 and went to $250,000 in the later years, the color ones.
Yeah.
Big investment. And kept 3 engineers, put 3 engineers' kids through college to run one. Those are the good old days. Yeah. Look.